Well, hello again. Welcome back. Welcome if you're joining us for the first time, whether you're here live or watching the recording. We're glad you found us. We are in part two of our Meet Leo AI and Safety Online. I'm presenting to you from Calgary. This is Treaty 7 territory. If you were with us yesterday, we shared this link, whos.land. Encourage you to take a look at that and learn more about the beautiful nations that we are able to live on. I'm Michelle Armstrong, Director of Events for Logix Academy, and we've got Bill is here with us, Richard's here, official introductions to them in just a second, but just a quick overview of who is Logix Academy. We are Canada's largest provider of STEM, robotics, technology training, partners to all of these companies you see on the screen and more. And in partnership today, we're with Richard from Found 42, another great partnership. So let's kick it off with you, Richard. Tell us a little bit about you and Meet Leo.
Thanks very much, Michelle. My name is Rich Rache. Been in the tech industry since '97. Before that, I was a high school English teacher until one of my students told me that look like a teacher, look like a business person. So I've been in business, but I've always had a passion for education and been working many years with Logic. So I'm bringing different curriculum to students and teachers and parents all over Canada. And today we're going to talk about a project I'm doing with Google called Meet Leo. And Meet Leo is all about helping families explore safely and responsibly online with their children and students. And so this is all about giving people the confidence to explore online while being safe, looking at different ways to manage ground rules, and then looking at exploring responsibly with a particular focus on AI.
Sweet. And yes, yesterday we sort of set the stage, talked about kind of what it looks like to be safe. Today we are going to look at those ground rules. But maybe, Bill, why don't I let you jump in, set the new stage for part two.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And welcome, everybody. My name is Bill Corcoran, and I live here in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. And I've been in public education for 18 years. And I'm excited to join these awesome colleagues of mine, Michelle and Richard, on the journey for today. As mentioned by Michelle, if you did not get a chance to join yesterday's, or you're just joining for the first time, we do have a link in our slide deck for yesterday's recording. And by signing them up, you should be able to grab those. But for today, we're really getting into the sort of nitty gritty of why you're probably here. Yesterday was more about setting the stage, and today is about what do we do about it? Because it's all great to talk about it, but let's get in, let's get messy. And so we're going to really talk about managing some ground rules, and we're talking about in this case with our family, with our children, with ourselves. It's very important that we are part of this journey together. So we'll say we a lot because we need to, as adults, model it, and that involves creating a tech agreement. And what does it mean to be safe online? And of course, this time frame will fly by so quickly. So one thing we'll always bring back to the table is that we will never forget to put the human in the center of all these conversations. Yes, tech has infinite possibilities and it is moving fast, but we need to know that we are part of this journey and that there's a human piece and element to it. And of course, everything is changing the idea of what it means to be literate, and not just to be able to read now, but to be able to identify and understand and interpret and communicate in different ways, including digital media is changing so fast. So this is going to be grounded in research that's going through, and this is an example from UNESCO. And lastly, across Canada, and I know we're talking about the same concepts across the United States, is what the need for transferable skills such as critical thinking is ever more needed at the moment. And so we need to kind of dig in a little further. So at this point, I'm sort of setting the stage and I'm moving it right over to Richard, who's going to dig us into the next steps.
Oh, before we go over to Richard, I want to take us back to, we know we've got to have the human involved with the technology. Speaking of humans, we have a few humans watching us live right now. So hello to those of you watching us live. we would love it if you would post in the chat to let us know where are you joining us from. And especially as we're going through some of these tips, we're going to be just asking for some feedback so we don't feel like we're just speaking to the abyss. So welcome those that are here. If you want to let us know where you're from, please do. And now, Richard, we will let you take it away. I know you're going to be talking a lot about the resources found within the Meet Leo resources, which I want to make sure everybody out there watching. I just posted a link where you'll be able to find all of the Meet Leo resources that Richard is about to tell us all about. Okay, enough from me, Richard. Now on to you.
Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, everyone, for joining, whether you're online now or you're watching this later. And so what we're going to talk about today is we're going to explore all these different tools that Google has provided to parents and teachers to keep their students and their children safe. And so think of these as guardrails where you have technology, some sort of control that you can put in place, but also think of these as guardrails as in guidelines, different ways to speak with your children, with your students around how to explore responsibly online. So there's a technical aspect to this, but there's also sort of more of a conversational aspect, which we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, and one thing I also want to make a mention, typically we're doing this work and we're speaking with educators. And tonight we're here, some of you may be educators and some of you may be parents and educators. But what I love about the resources Richard's going to share for us is these are guardrails as parents that we'll be able to use. If we are educators working in a Google for Education environment, there are some other guardrails over there, but this is just being able to kind of show both of those sides. So appreciate this stuff you'll be able to share with us. So I think first up, Google search.
Thanks very much. So I worked at Google for 15 years, and Google, I know from firsthand experience, has invested a lot of time and effort and thought into how to protect students online. And that's based on feedback from parents and teachers and advocates. And so when your child searches on Google, there are different algorithms in place to keep them safe, to protect them from shocking or harmful content. To make those tools effective, they really need to be logged in their browser so that the system knows that this is a child that needs to be, where we need to filter this, Google needs to filter that content in particular. So in Safe Search, so when you think of Safe Search, this works whether you're logged in or not. Because basically there'll be a cookie that will save your preferences for Safe Search. However, if you use multiple devices and you want to make sure that Safe Search is filtered on all your devices, then a login is going to be required. It's already on by default for children and anyone under 18. And then the parents have options to lock this for supervised minors. So what you can do is you should be able to scan the QR code there. Most of the QR codes here you can scan. I'll point out one that somehow went to the wrong QR code.
I think I fixed that one. Ooh, magic. Yeah, but that's what I was going to point out. I love that these Meet Leo resources, a lot of them have QR codes. This one takes us to a support page that tells us all about Safe Search and filtering. And yep, I just tested this one at work. So if you're watching the recording, give it a quick scan and that's going to give you even more info.
Yeah. So, and this is why I think it's really great to make sure you're logged in to make sure that all these policies sort of follow you wherever you go. And so the Safe Search settings, you can go in there as a parent, and then you'll look for parental controls. And I wouldn't just think of this as a way to set controls, also to think of it first as a way to have a conversation. And we'll talk more about that today. And around how to think about using technology and how to be safe online.
Yeah. Those of you who are watching this recording, obviously, you can pause, check out Safe Search. Even if those of you watching live, feel free to pause right now if you want to investigate Safe Search. And then we'll be right back here when you come back. So did you want to move on should we go into AI mode, Richard?
Yep. AI modes and AI overview. So for those of you who use Google regularly, you'll notice that you'll see at the very top of the page, quite often you'll see an answer. And that's something called an AI overview. And then there's a button to the top left called AI mode. And that's where you can basically have a chat to further the conversation about that particular topic. So those are also designed with guardrails to protect children from harmful, explicit content.
And that was something I was just testing out. So I think if anybody wants to just take a quick test, jump into a new tab, you just go to google.com or do google.ca, and you're going to see AI mode right there in that search bar. So that's how you can also dive deeper into that AI search. Anything else on this before we jump into app limits, Richard?
Well, app limits is the fun one because Bill really inspired me on this one.
Yeah, I was just gonna say we're clicking along too. You can probably see us looking at it. We like doing exactly what everybody's doing. And of course, I clicked on AI mode, and the first prompt it gave me is like, how do I become a better active listener? and I'm like, it's like, oh no, it's like knows I'm on a call and I should be giving 100% attention to Richard. And it's like, it must know, but no, I'm just joking. It was a strategy, but I thought it was timely.
That's really funny. So, and I know you're a very active listener, by the way, Bill. So app limits. So we did a presentation last night. Bill was driving that and put a lot of thought into like app limits and inspired me because last night, very proud to say, Bill, I turned off my phone or like ignored my phone from 9 p.m. onwards, and that generally did a much better job of saving my sleep. So thank you for that.
Oh, I love it.
The thing to remember about app limits, it really applies to all of us. We all need to make sure we control our content. And for me, my Achilles heel is YouTube. I will often go there to learn something new, but then next thing I know, I'm 20 videos deep in the Google Shorts, and that's the sort of short form videos. And certainly haven't learned a lot, but definitely spent way too much time scrolling. So the good news for parents is that you're able to set limits for your children or even block certain apps. So you can allow certain apps. You can set time limits per app. So for me, I set a time limit on YouTube for less than 45 minutes. And so definitely strongly recommend you to explore that feature for your children, but also for yourself. Bill and Michelle, what are your go-to? What's your dopamine hit app that you normally go to that you have to control yourself from?
Oh, Richard, I was afraid you were going to ask this. I need to put app limits. My Candy Crush is sort of my thing, but I know it's I definitely could do less of my Candy Crush. Bill, how about you?
Yeah, usually it's more Instagram or kind of Facebook Reels, but usually related to sports. You just keep on going down and down and down. But yeah, I think sometimes I don't put on a physical time limit on my app, which I should continue. I think that's one thing I've been inspired from this group here that I'm going to continue to do more. But I kind of have a little timer that I put on my phone for 10 o'clock, like a certain time that just pops up that kind of triggers me out of it. So I think that in the moment when you don't have anything set up, it's a good starting point to see things visually. Because once you start seeing things visually, you're like, whoa, where did that time go?
Yeah. So, I mean, and I know we've got some of you joining us live. Feel free to post your app of choice that potentially you should be setting the limits on. But what I also like about this is, as much as we're trying to help our students or our children, it's also bringing ourselves into the same conversations. Okay, what's right for you, also right for me. And so great to have these conversations. Richard, I want to go back to app limits. Where is it that I believe is it in our next workshop that we're going to dive into some tools that are going to help parents do this? Is that correct?
Yeah, well, in this particular, we'll talk through this today. The next two sessions will be going into exploring AI in particular. Everything you see
Okay.
here will be within Google Family Link.
All right. Okay. So Family
Good,
Link is going
good
to
call
allow
out.
us to do all of these things. Okay. So we'll show that in just a sec. Sweet. What else we got?
So app limits, the next one on content filtering. Strongly recommend this from firsthand experience, looking at like the power of these tools. So you can imagine your child searches something online, and they go into the videos and images, and imagine there being just all these explicit images you certainly wouldn't want them to see. That would be disturbing or fully inappropriate for their age. The blurring and the filtering, you can set that as a parent with Google Family Link, and then you can sort of basically ensure that when they search online, anything sort of unintended content based on their search they might see, that's all just blurred out and protected from that. And then you can set sort of rating restrictions for apps and games, and then you can also manage their YouTube settings. That's all within the parental controls within Family Link. And so Family
All
Link,
right.
think of it as like you're linking to all the people in your family, and then you're being able to be sort of the central admin for the family.
Okay, perfect. So we'll be sharing that link to Family Link in just a bit, but just knowing all these things are possible within that app. So stay tuned for that. And then we dive into YouTube.
Yeah, so you can go into here for the YouTube for kids, and there's that supervised experience. You can scan that QR code, and you can go there to the teen supervised experience. You can scan that QR code. And one idea, I'd love to have this conversation with you, Bill and Michelle. One idea that I really love about this Meet Leo sort of best practice is, instead of, you have like kind of two alternatives. Like what is being sort of policing your child to tell them what not to do and what to do. Another way to do it is to start by having fun, like seeing what they like to look online, like watch some silly videos together, see what they're interested in watching, and it can be a great opportunity to connect with your child while also opening up the conversation to like start to talk about like what it means to like explore safely and responsibly online. And through that, you can also just be transparent about like the different things that you're going to put in place to protect them from inappropriate content. Michelle, what are your thoughts on this?
I think absolutely what you said there that resonated with me is exploring things together, having conversations together. So it's not just about, the parent says you have to do this. No. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the why together. So I love that part of it. Bill, anything else on that?
Yeah, I think I echo what's going on here because it has to be the we. If you come at it just one day, we're going to sit down around the kitchen table and just talk about we're going to restrict your technology. There's going to be backlash. There's going to be a whole bunch of things. But I think it's any game of strategy, a game of chess. I'll use an example of Richard's example. Like it starts by sitting down and just getting a sense of what that your child is using it for, because it may mean that they actually are using it all ways you haven't mentioned in for good. But one thing I do know is that as our children get older, the less we kind of spend time with them and their devices. So it needs to be more ever present as they get older, when we usually used to protect them so much more when they were younger. So it's continuing that, and it's not going to be, oh, we're just going to do it for the next 2 months. And it's going to be an ever evolving conversation that we can have together. And what can we do about it?
And starting it early and just continuing that, it just becomes sort of an everyday thing. I do want to go back just to the QR codes on this slide. If anybody's, if you're scanning those QR codes, it does take you to a YouTube menu with all sorts of different ideas for videos to explore as a family. So very cool links on that page there. What do we have next here, Richard?
Yeah, so what we're going to talk about a lot more in our next two sessions is about exploring AI responsibly and what that means. And so, one thing to think about is just that AI is being trained on information from all over the internet. Some of those things will be more reliable, like Wikipedia. There's also a lot of Reddit out there. That's a huge source of information for these models. And so, just because it shows up under the AI overview doesn't mean you shouldn't check. And all those overviews should have a corroborating link so you can go and check the details and sort of triangulate. We'll talk about what that means to triangulate in the next slide here. And when you think about triangulation, I'll actually hand this over to Bill. Like, when we talk about triangulation, like, what are we actually saying here?
Well, I've really connected because I've been talking about, as we all have, the people who've been deep into following AI and generative AI, especially from an education perspective. But I hadn't heard this example until the Meet Leo program, which I thought was excellent, was thinking like a scientist. And so when you're thinking like a scientist, when you're acting like a scientist, you're coming up with many different avenues to try to figure out what you're doing is right and repeating it to make sure you're the most accurate information. So in this case, when you're looking at information, you're going to click on a couple of links that are reliable, that you may say, okay, that kind of validates that I'm seeing this in multiple places and it's from a really reliable website or an institution or organization. But also you might be looking for irregularities. So at the end of the day, you're looking at different authors, where they're from, what their background. So I think at the end, we just want you to be kind of skeptical in a good way. So that in this case, think like a scientist.
And yesterday, Richard, you said something, and I didn't tell you. It really resonated with me. Building your critical thinking superpower, and that's really what it's about. Double, extra, triple checking critical thinking. So I love that.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna for children these days, they're gonna have to have critical thinking capabilities that are just so more advanced than what was expected of us when we were kids. So this next part around Google Play. So many people wouldn't know that if you're using an Android phone, you're using Google Play, or you're using an Android tablet, that Google teamed up with teachers and children education and media specialists, and they curated the best apps for students 12 and younger. And this is a great opportunity, again, to sit down with your child and look at the different things that they might enjoy. In particular, like looking at the things that are really made for kids, whether that could be art or it could be video games. And then there's a collection of these sort of expert approved lists, and that's the curated options that that Google set up there. So you can scan that QR code, and then with that, this is a really interesting part that it's going to be more conversational, and quite literally, because we're talking about conversations with children, with parents and children. And then because ground rules this is the part where it's less about like the parental controls that you can sort of click buttons, and more around how to have a conversation with your child. So, when we talk about family conversations, there's this opportunity to just check in with children regularly, check in with your child around online safety and how they're using AI tools. And the way going back to how we were talking about before, there's an element of fun and an element of curiosity, an element of learning to this. Maybe that is a good entry point to then talk about some of the risks and the safety issues. So you can sort of start with this sort of positive lens, but then start to talk about the things that you really need to worry about. And we'll talk about some really good examples of that. And so, like, ways to have this conversation. So part of this is just sort of creating an open space, a safe space, an opportunity, wherever that is with your child, to give them, making sure that they know that they can talk to you about anything that they see online or they hear about from different kids at school that may be related to privacy or an image that was created with AI, something that was like concerning to them. Maybe they've heard about like someone's parent or relative getting scammed or someone else basically being sort of confused by someone else online. Maybe someone was pretending to be someone else online. Any of those stories that they share with you can be a really great opportunity to have a conversation around how they feel about it, but also how they feel like they could avoid a similar situation, like what you can learn from it. Michelle, what are your thoughts on this?
Initial thoughts. I'm going through all the conversations I've had with my daughters recently, and oftentimes, sure, they'll tell me something, but then it just really is only clicking now. How might we dive deeper organically rather, than bringing it up out of the blue, jump on something that they mentioned. I can't think of a particular example, but it is letting them bring up the topic and then piggybacking off of that, I think is great.
And Bill, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think it's just, I always separate the tech from as being a tool, a powerful tool, but we always want to create those instances, again, as a human, where we want our children, our friends, our family to be able to have conversations with us and open it up. So this is just part of that, where we want to make sure that we're setting them up so that they can have conversations when things are happening online, not just in life, but because of this.
Yeah. And so in the next section, we're going to talk about AI in terms of the different types of information that's automatically generated by this new thing called generative AI. And that's the key word, generative. Think of it as generate content. Okay. And so this is a good opportunity to talk to your children about when they think of AI, what do they think of, and to just let them know they can come to you with any questions. And then it's one of these things where you're definitely not expected to know everything. I spend my entire day in AI, either teaching it, using it, helping other people understand it. And no matter how much you know, there's no way you can keep up with this stuff. It's going way too fast. So you can always, with humility, say like, well, I don't really know, but let's go figure this out together. In this next slide, this is a really great example of this. We'll look at this example. So can we play that?
This one here?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And it was that be curious that I think this is going to resonate with them. I'll just present my screen. But yeah, let's be curious about what we're going to see here on the screen. And I'll see if I can get the audio to play as well. Let's go. We'll see. Play.
Oh my God! He's actually riding it. That just happened. Going into the clouds. I can't even see it anymore.
I mean, pretty amazing video that was shared with me more than once. And I wonder if I'd seen this 5 years ago, if my radar wouldn't even be up that high, just because it's not a professional filming this. Clearly it's not a green screen. So there's the amount of money that would have cost like 5 years ago to do a fake video like this would be cost prohibitive to do so, unless you had found a way to actually make money from this video. But today it is incredibly inexpensive. It's almost free to be able to create something that is just mind-blowing in terms of what's happening there. But when you see things like this, for example, this particular video, you probably only have one video online of monkey flying away on an umbrella, which in fact is the case. And there are people that are debunking it and explaining why that actually is not.
I'll go back to it.
Why that actually is not a real video. For example, just the physics of it. You have this, how much the monkey weighs, and the fact that he's going up, no matter how strong that draft is, it would be physically impossible for him to float away like this. So, but this is just one example of just countless online right now, where we all just need to be circumspect about the information we're seeing. And
yeah, totally. I think yesterday when you first showed us this, Richard, I think so many questions came into my head, and they still continue to. And I went down a bit of a rabbit hole trying to learn more. But I encourage those of you that are watching this as well. think about what are your questions as you watch this. Bill, what were some of your first questions, like when you first saw this?
I mean, for myself and on this video, I was really actually questioning, and I knew I was being shared the video with a certain perspective
Fair
and an
enough.
outcome, and I actually still was being convinced that it was real because of the things that I was seeing in it. So I mean, of course, we're going to look at the comments. Of course, we're going to look at different aspects of what it's like. But we were talking about curiosity before we went to the video, and I think that that monkey was a little bit too curious with that umbrella.
Right.
That's something a monkey would totally do. That's why.
Yeah.
But the one of my first tricks now is I'll look at the comments whenever I see a crazy video like this and wait till someone says like it's AI and then why it's AI. And then also, like I said, I'll Google the description of the video, and pretty quickly I'll find out whether it's fake, real or fake. So, and that's a sort of funny way to frame like a more serious conversation, which is just having a conversation with your child about like what they understand about AI, what excites them about it, what they're curious about, but then gives you an opportunity to start to talk about what it means to explore AI responsibly. And what that really means is that we are all responsible for how we handle all these changes that are happening. We are responsible for thinking like a scientist and double checking information. We're responsible for the information we're putting out there. So including things that are AI generated, we need to be mindful of like what kind of content that is to make sure it's not harmful. So based on what we're receiving as well as what we're putting out there. So I appreciate we're in the interest of time, probably need to pick up the pace a little bit. And then, I think that might be a little bit too far. Do we have to wrap? Okay, yeah. So where are we? I think we're at setting screen time, I believe. There we go.
This one right here. There we go.
So I'll just go through these relatively quickly. This is just a recap how we talked about screen time. So you can also set up school time. So kind of putting limits around which apps can be used, which should be silenced, limiting functionality so they're not distracted. And then introducing ground rules to AI. Bill talked about this yesterday. Sometimes you're going to be on the beach. Sometimes you're going to be deep diving underwater. And one way to think about this is just when is it appropriate to use AI? When is it sort of we should moderate how we use it? And when is it sort of you're able to freely use it? And this will be a good example of permissions when you're just sort of exploring a deeper question that you're curious about. You might restrict things when you want to make sure that students are avoiding the temptation to plagiarize. And then you can use it to fill in missing details of your understanding on a topic while not using it as a crutch.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we mentioned Family Link. So you can scan the QR code. That's where you can, as you establish the ground rules, this is how you implement them to make sure that the rules that you put in place can be implemented directly within the apps themselves. And
perfect. I'll keep it here just in case anyone wants to get that QR code. And oops, I was going to put in the direct link to Family Link as well, but I posted the wrong link, but that's okay. Meet Leo resources posted again is good. We'll get the Family Link in there in just a sec. Go ahead.
And then we'll use, this is the opportunity to use content settings to set age-appropriate content, including managing all the safe search settings, putting in requirements for approvals for anything that's before things are downloaded in the Play Store, setting restrictions on apps, and managing YouTube settings. That's all within the Family Link.
Perfect. And even more resources. Did you want to give a high level just of what these resources are here?
Yeah, well, so we'll share this with you. This includes the Meet Leo resources that you've already seen the presentation. There's more to it. There's a couple more sessions on this, including things around learning about generative AI and a bunch of other resources that you can use to sort of go deeper in all the different topics we discussed today.
Yeah, and I'm going to put the link to the slide deck again. So the link that just got posted in the chat, that's this whole slide deck. It's all going to be all 4 sessions, but this you're going to find on slide 75, all of these resources here that will just help you dive even deeper. With that, a lot of information, but a lot of great information. Bill, any comments on kind of what we went through today?
Well, just thank you to you, Michelle, for moderating us so finely, and Richard for bringing us all these great tools and I guess thinking points on where to move forward. And a lot of times we're talking about how do we use the device itself, and we need to backtrack a little bit and saying, okay, we are trying to make sure that they're using the device when they're using it, but when are they not using it? And sometimes it's around those conversations is also talking about, well, where's the phone at night? Is it in the kitchen charging? When do we have to put it there? And all these little different things that are happening that also can be those points when we talk about, we hear that ding go off and we want to just, our brain goes there and all of a sudden our brain is awake just by being in the next room of it. So things like that about kind of setting those expectations in the house. And you're not going to be the bad person by saying these phones need to be down there. It may be harder for your children to understand, but explaining to them why we're doing this, and again, having those wee conversations are just the starting point. So thank you for, I'm honored to be part of this panel, and I'll throw it back.
Great. Thanks so much, Bill. Thanks, Michelle, as well. You both are a huge inspiration to me, and it helps me like with my thought process and adding so much to this this conversation. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and appreciate those of you that have tuned in. Hopefully you do take some time and pause and check out those links, check out those apps. And then we're going to be back next week, diving into some of the AI tools like Google Lens. We're going to look at some arts and culture, some Notebook LM, so many tools out there to explore. Who knows? Maybe there will be new ones next week that we don't even know about yet. But with that, Richard, thanks so much for sharing all of that with us. Bill, thanks for your input as well. And yeah, thanks you guys. And we hope to see you again next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.